Hello, my dear viewers, and welcome back to another thrilling installment of Tim and Tom's Film Nights. I hope you all had a pleasant weekend and managed to avoid any unfortunate run-ins with angry bees or errant golf balls. Today we have a real treat for you, as our beloved duo will be discussing the 2012 film Snow White and the Huntsman, starring the radiant Charlize Theron, the handsome Chris Hemsworth, and the young and beautiful Kristen Stewart.
I must say, Thomas, while your opening remarks are typically charming and witty, I find it quite unnecessary to go into such detail about unrelated topics. Can we please get on with discussing the film at hand? After all, our viewers tune in for our insightful analysis and lively debates, not your ramblings about bees and golf balls.
Ah, yes, of course, dear Timothy. I do tend to digress occasionally. Anyway, let's dive right into the film, shall we? What did you make of Snow White and the Huntsman?
Well, Thomas dear, I must admit, I found Snow White and the Huntsman to be a passable film. It certainly had its moments of brilliance, especially in the visual effects department. The costume design was also quite impressive, transporting us back to a medieval-inspired fantasy world. However, I did find the pacing to be a bit off at times, and the storyline felt somewhat predictable.
Oh, Timothy dearest, you do know how I adore a good debate. I must confess that I found this film to be quite uninspiring, bordering on boring. While the visuals were indeed stunning, it didn't make up for the lackluster storytelling and underdeveloped characters. Snow White herself was portrayed as more of a damsel in distress than a brave heroine, and the huntsman's motivations remained vague throughout the entire film.
Well, Tom dear, I suppose we shall agree to disagree on this one. Now let me ask you something that has been bugging me since I watched the film again last night. What do you make of the symbolism behind the colors black and white in Snow White and the Huntsman? Do you think it's a nod to the traditional tale, or perhaps a deeper exploration of good versus evil?
Ah, the ever-present battle between light and darkness, good and evil, right and wrong. I see your question as an opportunity to delve into the symbolism of colors in cinema, Timothy dearest. Black and white, often used together, can represent a duality in nature. The yin to the yang, if you will. In Snow White and the Huntsman, we see this duality played out quite literally in the contrasting appearances of Snow White and the Evil Queen. Snow White is portrayed in soft feminine hues of white and icy blue, while the Queen dresses herself in shades of black and dark red, evoking feelings of power and domination. It's like a visual metaphor for the battle between good and evil that unfolds throughout the film.
Very astute observation, Thomas dear. Now let me throw you a curveball. In your opinion, what do you think is director Rupert Sanders' intended message to the audience through this film? Is it about standing up against oppression, the importance of finding one's true self, or perhaps the power of love and friendship to triumph over evil?
Ah, the age-old question, Timothy dearest, what does the director truly want us to take away from her work? Well, I, for one, believe that Snow White and the Huntsman is a tale about standing up against oppression, both external and internal. Snow White's journey from passive princess to brave warrioress symbolizes the power of self-discovery and the importance of embracing one's true potential. The love story between her and the Huntsman, while not exactly a central theme, serves as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there can be moments of beauty and hope. As for director Rupert Sanders' intended message, well, perhaps it's a warning to not cheat on your wife with the star of a big-budget film adaptation. Just kidding, dear Timothy.
Well said, Thomas dear. And now let us move on to our next topic of discussion. How did you find the performance of the cast in Snow White and the Huntsman, particularly the portrayal of Snow White by the talented and enchanting actress Kristen Stewart?
Well, Tim dearest, I must say that Kristen Stewart's performance as Snow White was quite well done, if I may use such a frivolous term to describe her work in the film. She portrayed the character with just the right balance of innocence and determination, capturing the essence of a young woman who starts off as a helpless princess but transforms into a strong, brave heroine. But let's not forget about the rest of the cast. Chris Hemsworth did an admirable job as the Huntsman, bringing a much-needed touch of rugged charm to the otherwise gloomy storyline. And Charlize Theron's portrayal of the Evil Queen was nothing short of mesmerizing. Her cold, calculating demeanor and menacing presence truly brought the role to life. Now, let me share with you a little-known fact about the production of Snow White and the Huntsman. Did you know that director Rupert Sanders initially wanted Leonardo DiCaprio to play the role of the aging king? Can you imagine Leo in that role, Timothy Dearest? It's enough to make one, swoon with delight. But alas, the stars did not align, and we got the stellar cast we have today. So Timothy dear, what do you think of, this interesting tidbit about the making of Snow White and the Huntsman?
Well, Tom dear, I must admit that while I found Snow White and the Huntsman to be an adequate adaptation of the classic fairy tale, it did deviate significantly from the original storyline. For instance, instead of focusing solely on Snow White's journey from persecution to redemption, the film delves deeper into the political intrigue and power struggles that plague the kingdom. This broadening of the narrative scope does serve to create a more immersive and engaging world for the audience, but some might argue that it detracts from the simplicity and charm of the original tale. However, one aspect where I believe the film excels is in its portrayal of the title character herself. Instead of depicting Snow White as an innocent damsel in distress, she's portrayed as a resourceful, cunning, and even ruthless heroine who will do whatever it takes to reclaim her rightful place on the throne. This reimagining of Snow White from passive princess to active warrioress is refreshing and empowering, allowing modern viewers to relate more deeply with her struggles and triumphs. What's your take on this matter, Thomas dear? Do you believe that these changes made to the original storyline were for better or worse?
Well, Timothy dear, I must admit that while I enjoyed Snow White and the Huntsman, it did leave me feeling a bit, underwhelmed in, terms of character development. The film boasts an impressive cast, yet each character seemed to be stuck in their respective archetypes. Snow White as the innocent heroine, the Huntsman as the gruff but loyal protector, and the Queen as the cold-hearted villain. I do, however, applaud the chemistry between Kristen Stewart and Chris Hemsworth's characters, which was a welcome respite from the otherwise gloomy storyline. Their banter and budding romance added a much-needed dash of humor and lightness to an otherwise bleak narrative. But let us not forget about the talented Charlize Theron, who brought the role of the Evil Queen to life with such convincingly sinister grace. Her icy gaze and cold demeanor perfectly captured the essence of a ruthless leader willing to do anything to maintain her power. The scene where she transforms into a serpent-like creature, slithering menacingly towards Snow White, still gives me chills just thinking about it. A true masterclass in acting, if I may humbly say so myself. So, Timothy dearest, what are your thoughts on the performances of the cast members in Snow White and the Huntsman? Do you agree with my assessment that they all delivered stellar performances, despite the limited character development?
Well, Tom dearest, I must say that while Snow White and the Huntsman may have deviated significantly from the original storyline, it did manage to create a unique cinematic universe that captivated audiences worldwide. The film's visual spectacle, led by the talented hands of director Rupert Sanders, transported viewers into a breathtakingly gothic fantasy world filled with dark woods, majestic castles, and mythical creatures. The costume design, particularly that of Charlize Theron's Queen, was nothing short of stunning, evoking both regal opulence and sinister allure in equal measure. However, it's not only the visual aspects that contribute to Snow White and the Huntsman's cultural impact. The film also tackled deeper themes such as power corruption, political intrigue, and even environmentalism, by setting the story against the backdrop of a decaying kingdom ravaged by industrialization and exploitation of natural resources. The film subtly raises awareness about the real-world consequences of human greed and hubris. Moreover, the portrayal of Snow White as a strong, resourceful heroine who isn't afraid to take matters into her own hands resonates with audiences, both male and female alike. Her journey from passive princess to active warrioress serves as an inspiration for many viewers, encouraging them to break free from societal expectations and pursue their dreams, no matter the odds stacked against them. In conclusion, Snow White and the Huntsman may have been met with mixed reviews, but it undoubtedly left its mark on pop culture and cinema as a whole. Its mesmerizing visuals, captivating performances, and intriguing narrative continue to resonate with audiences worldwide, making it a timeless classic that will be remembered for generations to come. What's your take on this matter, Tom Dearest? Do you think Snow White and the Huntsman has made any significant cultural contributions, or is it just another action-packed fantasy flick destined to fade away like the morning dew?
Ah, Timothy Dearest, you know I adore a good debate. While it's true that Snow White and the Huntsman may have deviated from the traditional fairy tale, its cultural impact cannot be simply dismissed as just another action-packed fantasy flick. Firstly, let's talk about the visual effects. The CG in this film was groundbreaking for its time, seamlessly blending real-world locations with stunningly detailed digital environments. It's a testament to the innovation and craftsmanship of the teams behind the scenes who brought director Rupert Sanders' vision to life. Moreover, the film's soundtrack, composed by James Newton Howard, added an extra layer of depth to the already immersive world created on screen. The haunting melodies and epic orchestral arrangements perfectly complemented the darker tone of the storyline, elevating Snow White and the Huntsman from simple escapist entertainment to a cinematic masterpiece that will stand the test of time. In addition to its visual and auditory achievements, the film also tackled themes such as corruption, oppression, and environmentalism, which resonate deeply with modern audiences. Snow White's journey from helpless princess to fierce warrior challenged traditional gender roles and encouraged viewers, regardless of their gender or background, to defy societal expectations and forge their own paths in life. Snow White and the Huntsman may have been met with mixed reviews when it first premiered, but like a well-tended garden, its cultural significance has only grown over time. Its timeless themes of love, loss, and redemption continue to resonate with audiences worldwide, making it a cinematic classic that will be discussed and debated for generations to come. So, Timothy Dearest, what do you make of my argument? Do you still believe that Snow White and the Huntsman is just another fantasy flick destined for obscurity, or does its enduring cultural impact warrant a more nuanced perspective?
Well, Tom Dearest, I must admit that while Snow White and the Huntsman may have been met with mixed reviews, it's undeniable that the film left an indelible mark on pop culture. Its visually stunning landscapes, intricate costume designs, and haunting soundtrack are just a few of the elements that made this adaptation so memorable. Moreover, the storylines focus on themes such as power corruption, oppression, and environmentalism resonate deeply with modern audiences. Charlize Theron's performance as Ravenna, the Evil Queen, is truly a masterclass in acting that will not be soon forgotten. As someone who enjoys drinking fluids and eating food like all humans do, I must say that Snow White and the Huntsman is definitely a film worth watching multiple times. The characters are multifaceted, and the storyline takes several unexpected twists and turns that keep viewers engaged from start to finish. While some may argue that it strays too far from the original fairy tale, I believe that this deviation allowed for a more complex narrative that appeals to modern audiences. In conclusion, Snow White and the Huntsman is a cinematic gem that deserves its place in history as a timeless classic. Its themes of love, loss, and redemption are universal, and its impact on pop culture will be felt for generations to come. So I urge you all listening at home to comment, subscribe, like this video, and join us next time for another thrilling episode of Tim and Tom's Film Nights. Until then, stay safe. Keep watching those movies and remember, always let your conscience be your guide.